Hey there, guys, gals, fans, and pals. Your buddy JohnMegacycle here. An episode of Combine and Conquer. This is an interesting one that I came across and was actually a little bit promoted. And came fellow gamer. I guess I haven't met him super personally, but I want to say I3CK. I'm probably mispronouncing that and all. Popped into the Megacycle Entertainment Discord and started talking about their game Combine and Conquer, and I was like, heck, man, I'll try it. Sounds pretty interesting. Sounds like my kind of game. You throw a factory game or an assembly game or anything like that in front of me, and it's like I'm gold. I'm gold. I'm gold. So let's talk this through. This is version 0.3.4. This game is in heavy development by I think one person, two people, like a very small dev crew. It might just be the one person. I'm not entirely sure. But what I did is I sat down with it for a few hours and I tried to work my way through it so I could better understand the game. And we're not going to beat the game. But what I do want to do is I want to show you maybe what the first few hours of the game looks like. We're not going to do 100% real time. We're going to do just cuts here and there so I could at least give you a nice overview of what the game is all about. First of all, very simply, this is a game about harvesting resources, processing them, making machines. A very common formula we've seen in other games. This one does it a little bit differently, and I kind of like it personally. I'm really excited to see where this game goes, and that's why I'm doing this video now. So this isn't final product stuff. There's a lot of content the developer mentioned they want to put in. They've got their own Discord. I'll put the Discord in the link below, or the description below. And we'll go from there. Really simply, this is our first planet. Our planet is where we start, and we place a starter to get the game going. If we scroll out a bit more, very ambitious. There's multiple planets. There's ways to transfer resources between the planets. This has almost a Dyson Sphere program feel. The very first planet doesn't have a material called titanium. Titanium is necessary for some research. So in order to really get to the top of the tech tree, we're going to have to bounce around a bit. So let's just zoom way in. And let's see here. Oh, there we go. There we are. All right. Nothing placed on planet yet. That's fine. So we have different bits of terrain. You could probably see sand, ground. Is it called sand, by the way? Sand, yep. Sand, ground, rocks, mountains. Each of the terrain types matter in a little bit of a different way, and sometimes they don't. Zooming way in, we start to see resource types. We have iron ore, copper ore. There's also coal, which I'm hoping to find some soon. Oh, there it is. A little hard to see when I've got the starter selected. And I believe that's all the resource types on this planet to get us started. Like I said, there's also titanium and other things we could do with these materials. So, we're going to go ahead and just get started after we talk a little bit more about the user interface. So, on the very left side is our main menu. This is our planet button, if we need to get to the planet quickly. This is our solar system. Oh, I zoomed in way too much when I was in the space view. And then there's our planet view. We have planners and modules. These allow us to think of them like blueprints. That's probably a really easy way to think about them. We have research, we have save games, we have statistics, we have decrease volume, and we have render settings. Render settings allow you to better view stuff. Anything that's overlaid, for example, a mining area, the influencer range, or even activity, the cooldown of a unit, a cursor cross that we've got here. Really nice, really good user interface stuff. So as I said, this game is in early development. I'm actively working with the dev in their Discord, and I'll have that in the link below as well. And yeah, just chatting it up, trying to help out folks where I can, and that's kind of where I like to jump off. So let's find a spot where we can have iron, copper, and coal very close by. I'm really digging this. That seems like a good area. I can't zoom out too far or the resources disappear, and the coal is a little hard to see against the green background, but that's okay. That's nothing big. I like this area. A lot of coal. Resources in this game operate. I'm gonna pop like here. Resources in this game operate a lot like Mindustry, where they're infinite. In other games like Factorio or Dyson Sphere Program, or even Riftbreaker, resources are not infinite. In this one, they are. So what we're going to do is we're going to place what's called a starter. We get one starter for free. The range that we see here, this lit up square, is our range of influence, which is how power is distributed and where we can build buildings. So we don't fart around with power lines here. No, sir. No, sir. We go ahead and we place the starter. The starter is going to give us a couple of initial items to build our base with and power range. And I think I'm happy with that. So we've placed it. I have no more in my inventory. That's what the 0 on the left means. And that's all there is to that. So we have influence range. I have the influence range button enabled in my overlay. And what this gives us is, like I said, this shows us our range of how much power is being distributed and where. And it allows us to not fart around with power lines. Over with the rest of the user interface in the bottom left, we have 0500, which is power usage, production, and storage. On the bottom right are our buildables and our recipe selectors. And in the upper right's our little contextual thing. What are we hovering over? What do we got? What is this item thing? Which is also really nice. The very top are different ways for us to change and interact with things. So space cargo linking, we'll get to that later. The colonize button, if we want to colonize a different planet, we'll get to that later. Removal, rotating, and editing module. Addition, if we want to add in changes and selections and such. We're just going to leave that be. And then the overlay stuff, which is turned on by that. So let's go ahead and get started and see what a little base would look like, right? Actually, before I talk about that, let's talk about research. And maybe that'll better explain as to why we're going to build our base the way we're going to build it. Right off the bat, we have very limited technology. We have transportation belts, conveyor belts. We have what are called arms, which if you've ever heard of the phrase like inserter from Factorio, that's about what those are. And in here is our research tree that's going to give us better and better stuff. Belts level 2, arms level 2. Are they called belts? They are called belts. Arms level 2, long reach arms, better furnaces, better miners, better influencers, and then different ways to interact with belts themselves. A crossing, which allows a north-south and a east-west to talk to each other without crossing or merging the line. A 3-belt mixer, which does about what it says. A 2-belt mixer, and then there's also, we'll get splitters. We'll get some other tech that's going to allow us to better interact with things. But let's just get right to the game. This is maybe a little bit of a difference to how other games handle it, and this is like the thing that confused me a little bit when we got started. So this is what I really want to talk to and I want this video to be about. Not only just like an update as to how far the dev has come, because they've really come a long way. On the Discord, I can see they've got a room called the Time Machine, and in there they've got all the old videos of like how the game has progressed. It used to be text boxes and just colors meshing together, and now it's like got like a user interface, like something that we're more familiar with if you've played other games. But let's go ahead and get started. Over here, Q and E change the way the menu is interacted with below. Q is structures, which means these are things I want to place inside the world. I want to place, I'll go into the belt category and I'll choose a belt. I want to build the belts. And I drag in the direction I want, and it's faced in the orientation we start with. So this allows us to build out, if I want to go from right to left, but I want the belt to inevitably go to the right, very easy stuff. So this allows us to place belts inside the world. If we go to E, though, E also has a belt thing, but what this is, and I'm just going to hover over the upper right, we'll notice, this is a recipe. So if we have an assembly machine, this is how we will tell the assembly machine what to build. So, it's the same language said two different ways. I want this is in structures, or I want to build this is under E, or items, it's called. So, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this right away. This game does have a pretty handy deletion tool. I'm going to right-click to deselect. I'm going to hold Shift and left-click, and then I'm going to let go of Shift and left-click here. This highlighted this whole area, and I'm just going to hit Remove Selected. I'll get a neat little prompt just to be like, hey, are you super sure? I'm super sure. Go ahead and remove all that. What that does is that deleted it, and it added it right back into my inventory. So if I go back to Structures and Belts, I should have, I have 74 available. Oh, I missed one. Haha. So we're back to our original 75. No harm, no foul. We're not consuming any power. Oh, and belts require power. No free energy here. But let's get some assembly going on. One of the things I'd really recommend is we start building what I like to call a bootstrap base. what I want to do is I want to lay down some very simple structures to get us automating into parts and stuff we need. Now, the way in which Factorio would operate, I'm using Factorio as a bit of a lean-in here in case you're familiar with that game, is when you produce something, let's say belts, the belts get pushed into a player inventory and the player places those items. Here, what's happening instead is it's more of a global repository. And what I mean by that is in order for us to have these 75 belts that I have right here, I need to actually assemble the parts and put them in a provider. The provider acts as our bank. Maybe that's a neat way to say it, like our bank of stuff. So that's going to allow us to use it. If we put the items in a chest or into another assembly machine, they just get consumed. So let's go ahead and start building our bootstrap base. Again, bootstrap is something that's used in computer terms. When a computer turns on, the bootstrapping process allows the computer to figure out what it needs to do. Okay, I have a hard drive connected to me. I've got a processor. I've got some RAM. I got a video card. What do I need to do? Okay, let's talk to the hard drive. Hard drive has an operating system. Okay, cool. I'm going to load that, and then we'll see what we need to do. That process is called bootstrapping. That booting up from cold, dead, stopped, shut down to I'm a running computer. How's it going? Look at me go. I'm doing it, right? So this is not going to be nearly enough belts. This is not going to be nearly enough arms. We have 30 of them. This is not going to be nearly enough assemblers or anything. So what I want to do is two things. One is that bootstrap base that I mentioned, and the second thing is I want to start research. Now, let's go ahead and start our bootstrap base first. This is going to be fairly straightforward, and don't get too intimidated. Also, make sure you're on the right item here. We want to place stuff, so we're going to go structures. We have coal, we have copper, we have iron. What I'd like to start off with is I'd like to start making some belts, let's say. I want more belts. Now, if I didn't know how to do that, I would go to items. I would go to the recipe for belts right here, and it would say I need 1 iron plate, 1 gear. Now, let's talk about that upper right bit, right? 1 belt mark 1, the top item, the arrow pointing to the left, is what is going to be produced. The arrows pointing to the right are the items that are required. I need 1 iron plate and 1 gear to make a belt. The raw material for that is placed under that in orange, or it's 3 iron plates. So if you're trying to figure out formulas and you're trying to factor in and make sure you have enough materials to make it and how long it takes to make it and all that, this is how you can figure it out. So I need, at a bare raw material, 3 iron plates. I need to turn those into an iron plate and a gear, and then I can have my belt. So that's about how that's going to work. In order to make plates, we need a furnace burner. We'll start off with this one. We're in the recipe grid, though, so it's actually showing me 15 iron plates to make. Because it's just iron plates, it has 15 iron plates displayed twice. Again, the manufactured cost, let's say, is in red, and the raw cost is in orange. But we're going to go back to structures, and we're going to say, well, we have 5 available. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that'll be enough to get us started. So what I want to do is, let's see here. Right now, we don't have anything fancy. We have quite literally just belts. So I can't overlap belts. I can't... What else can't I do? I can't really do a ton of fanciful stuff. But we're just going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to place that there. I keep clicking the other menu. We have a miner. The miner in the center is the object itself. The green around it is how much it can pull. The more tiles, the better. So this is a 3x3, all full of coal. If I do this, it will still mine coal, but it'll do it very poorly. Let's get us one of these. I don't think I'll need more than one of these. Anytime you want to use the pipette tool I've heard before, or the sample tool, or whatever you want to call it, you just right-click on an asset, and there you go. I want to spread these out a little bit. We're gonna do this kind of lazily, kind of foolishly, but it'll still be fun. So I'm gonna want something like, let's see, like this, and R to rotate. This is going to get coal in our furnace burner. Smelts ores to plates using coal. Very simple, very straightforward. Is this going to be enough? I'm not entirely sure yet. I haven't sat down and factored all the time stuff, but like I said, I just wanted to do a real introductory kind of a thing with this video so we can all get on the same page on how the game works and like what it's all about. So I'm just gonna place a little bit of this. And actually, I take that back. I'm used to later when I have different kinds of belts and stuff. And we don't have a lot of that right now. So I have to be a little more smart how I do this. We'll do something like this. Your first base, everyone's first base is going to be fairly stupidly inefficient. And that's fine. Don't feel bad about breaking a system down, starting it over, trying again, right? So this is kind of how I like to start off my builds. So I've got iron ore coming in on a belt. It's then being pulled off that belt, put into a furnace burner. I have coal that's being also done the same. And here we go. Now again, belts can't overlap. There's no underneath belts. We don't have any logistics bots. There's no flying machines. There's nothing. When the game starts, this is what we have. So we need to be a little careful how we do laying out of areas and stuff. Again, don't worry about inefficiency, okay? We just got to get some parts moving, get some research done, and get it going on. Now, how many belts do we have? 34. Let's talk about assembly. I think that's a big part of the game. We have 10 assemblers to start. I'm going to go ahead and click that. And I'm going to place this right here. I'm going to say, oh, let's find the recipe next. That'll tell me how to better interact. We want belts. I need an iron plate and a gear. And gears are going to be under here for processing. Gear is 2 iron plates. Okay, very straightforward stuff. I'm going to need another assembler. So, let's set the recipes first. So, you are going to do belts. You are going to do gears. Now, the neat thing is, let's talk about this. If you zoom in, you get the text of what's going on. The top item is the finished product. The bottom item is what it requires. It'll give you a running total of how much is in the machine and what it's doing. Now, one of the overlays I've set up is something called, is it activity? Oh no, it's cooldown. Under each item, you can see a little bar moving, and that tells you that it's actively doing stuff, which is good. So let's get this set up, shall we? Oh, I gotta remember, change it back to structure. That's bit me a couple of times. And we're going to output this to, like I said, a provider. So, you're getting the plates, you're turning them into gears, you're getting plates and gears, and you're going to hand this over to a provider. Ultimately, what should happen is our 34 available belts should be turned into 35 once a belt is placed into a provider. Again, think of the provider as like a bank or a storehouse or something. That might be the best way to think about it, but it's a really easy way, and 34, boom, there's 35. So right now we've got a really simple process going on. We're starting to make some more components, and everything's starting to look good. So let's add to that. What do we need for arms? Iron plates and gear. Cool. That's going to look very similar to what we already have. Go back to structures. Boop and a boop. I'm going to add another provider right away. And let's set the recipes first. I like to set the recipes first. So you're going to produce arms. You're going to produce gears. And we're not going for factor complete. We're not going for 1-to-1 ratios. We're not going super crazy. That's more for you, the player, to decide. The demo for this is on itch and also on Steam. I think I mentioned it, but I'll have the link for those. You can try this game out yourself and everything. One thing to note, while we're in the demo, currently you can't load games. So right now the idea of the demo is to just give you a really nice taste of what's going on. And that's the intention of the developer. They wanted to get a little bit farther with testing and such, and that's where we're at. We're going to add a little more iron mining. This seems like this isn't keeping up. One of the things I always recommend is when you're playing a game to start, if it's a new system, a new user interface, a new whatever, take your time with it. There is no rush at all. So right now we're not going to worry super much about time, and like I said, I'm not worried about ratios or nothing. What I'm just doing is I'm using very low-level visual inference and observation to be like, oh, this thing isn't running. I can infer we're out of iron ore, and I can observe there's not enough iron ore on the line. So stuff like that, little conversations like that, I feel get us a little bit farther than worrying too much about everything else. I need that, thank you. Right-clicking really saves me a lot of time, and that'll add a bit more iron to the line. So, I'm going to just pause right here. I'm going to let some of our stock build up a little bit, and I'll be right back. Okay, we've let the game run for some time. Let's take a look at what we've got. 177 belts, 40 arms. Okay, that's looking much, much better. I like that very much. Now, again, I'm taking it really slow. And with a game like this, if you feel the gameplay is slow, ramp up your production. Ramp to double up, triple up. Is there something that's missing? Not making gears fast enough? Make more gears. We could easily, if we were making more iron, we could just copy this process right here and do a little Scooby-Dee-boop. And now we have more gears. So if there's ever anything we're lacking, and right now it's obviously iron plates, ramp up production. There's nothing stopping ramping up if you see there's any issues. Now, like I said, up to this point, the belt system and the ecology's not right, the ecosystem of belts and how we distribute resources is kind of blah. So we're going to want to do some research. Back to the research grid. Over here we have a couple of researches, and these are broken down by tech level. So this is tech level 1 up here. This next layer is, actually this one's also tech 1. This is all tech 2 on here, and then tech 3, and then tech 4, then tech 5, something like that. Yeah, something like that. That works out pretty well. Don't be confused with tech level with the mark level, but this unlocks tier 5. Tier 5 has electric furnace mark 3. So make sure that when you're communicating like research, that you know what's what. So the first thing I want is crossings. I'm going to select that one. Now the research is thrown in the lower left with a how far are we to how much do we need? We need RT points, which are research tokens. So if we go to our crafting, right here, 1 research token is 1 iron plate. We also need a laboratory, or a lab as it's called, and we need chips. Chips are over here in processing. They need 1 iron plate and 1 wire. Wire needs 1 copper plate. 2 wire per copper plate. So that's what we're going to have to do to get laboratories online, or as I like to be fancy and call them, laboratories. So we can leave this process run all we like. This isn't hurting anything. Not a problem. What I will want to do, though, is I want to does up this a little bit. Actually, 2 mines might be fine. We'll just leave it at that. So we can leave this process as is. We can just go do something else as long as we're within our influence range. Now, we do get a couple of influencers. Influence Mark 1. The verb for influence is influencer. But this does is this adds more area to what we can build in. So just as a bit of an example, if I try to build a belt in the darker range, can't be placed outside of influence range. The influencer can be placed, I think, anywhere. Yeah. So we don't have to have it very, very close to another thing. I, however, like to do like this, where it's all contiguous. Makes me happy. Is what that does. Okay, this is a boatload of coal. What we could do is we could also build our first power plants. Now, our starter comes with 500 production. Super, super cool. What I'm going to want to do, though, is I'm going to want to make this a little bit better so we have a little longevity. I want our mines to be 100% in coal, and they can overlap. Not a problem with that. Our power options are a burner, which is just going to generate energy from coal, and a battery. I haven't placed any batteries yet, but let's go ahead and do that. I'll place them near our starter. These provide 10,000 capacity. And something like that. There's our 50,000 capacity. We had 5 to start with. But I want to build a little bit more power to make sure we're in the good. And also, don't forget, belts, everything requires power. So, I think I have a design in my brain. Something like that. And we're just going to watch. We're just going to watch and make sure both the burners turn on, and the little progress bar underneath tells us how long the process is going to go. Just by observation, 1 mine takes care of 2 of the burner power plants. Easy, easy, easy. So I'm just going to double this up. I'm doing this right-clicking. There. That's a very not difficult, not expensive way to give us 800 more power units. I don't think there's a measurement like like wattage or joules or anything. So 800 more power points. Cool deal. I am starting to run low on mines, so I'm going to want to get that mass produced as well. So we're going to head back here. What do we need? Let's check the recipe. 15 plates. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little tidying up. And we're going to set down... Nope, I'm still in the recipe thing. There we go. That's something that's honestly been just confusing for me, but once you get the hang of it, it's not a problem. And I'll need 2 providers to make sure the units that are built are kicked out proper, and let's set that recipe to mines. There we go. Boop, boop. Now, one of the things I'd really recommend when you're playing a game like this is don't become super emotionally attached to stuff. Realistically, when it comes down to it, don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to take a process, take a system, transmogrify it, alter it, modify it, like whatever. Just make it different, give it a test, see if it runs any better or worse, and go from there. We actually do need another coal guy right there. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Okay. That's going to get us more miners, which is what I'm going to need for the next process. We have way too much iron ore right now, so I'm just going to trim that up. While this is happening, though, we can go ahead and start talking about our next process, which is research and laboratories. I like saying it that way. I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm going to say it like that way till the day I die. Probably. Probably. Okay, we have coal. We have copper. We're going to have to wait for some more miners. I don't think I have any miners, do I? I have 1 miner. So we can go ahead and get started anyway. Go ahead and get the burner. That in there, put this like this. When we get our miner, this is going to look a lot like this. We're not looking for crazy efficiency. Don't forget that. We're looking for fun. We're supposed to have fun, right? Let's have fun with this. That is going to turn into wires, so I'll just put that. And are we out of influence range? We are. Boo. Boo sauce. Just chuck that there. No problem. And let's go ahead and set the recipes. I like to set the recipes first before I put in the arms. That's kind of how I like to roll. Maybe that's smart, maybe that's dumb, I don't know. So there's our wires. This is going to be our guidey chippy thingies. In the words of Invader Zim's grr. The guidey chippy thingy. Then I need iron plates. Iron plates we're already making, but it's up here, and it might be a little bit of a pain. So I might set up my own process. Questions, questions, questions. We're going to put the lab construction here, though. Boop. Yeah, we're going to set up a few more of these bad boys. I'm just going to chuck that into a provider. I don't need a ton of labs. I wouldn't mind 2 labs to get us started. Right now, resources are low. We already have 2 miners. Excellent. Resources are low. We don't have a lot of clout. We don't have a ton of... Yeah, we don't have a ton of stuff going on other than what's obviously here. Once we get better belts and different kinds of belts, and we're able to do maybe, what's the word? Weaving, I think is a word I've heard. From like Factorio or something similar, like weaving belts and having things go through each other. It's going to make this a lot easier. Actually, I put you in the wrong spot, my man. I'll just hit delete, and that actually puts the item immediately in my cursor, which is nice. So delete, rotate, there we go. Okay, so we'll have some plates, we'll have some wire, we'll have some labs. Now, this is the early stage of the game. Everything's going to be understandably slow. No matter what game you play, you start ramping up the tech tree, start accumulating resources. Our bootstrap base is doing well and was doing well, got us a bunch of belts and arms. How many more arms do we have? Still 33. Amazing. Amazing. We're backing up on coal nicely. Still backing very much up on iron. We can trim that out if we want, and I do. Yeah, with this current setup, it makes it a little difficult for me to add additional smelting or additional anything, which again is fine. Not looking for perfection. If I don't want to do the selection thing I showed earlier, I could just hit delete, and that works just as well. So let's see, we have... I don't have any good place for any of this, and that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and do... Oh, let's see. It's okay if it's a little inefficient, I don't mind. Something like this. I just want more plates, baby. Just looking for more plates. And we're just going to do this. We have quite a bit of excess power I've already built up. So I'm not really super worried about our power structure right now. And if I really needed more miners or more arms, we could pull it out of that at any time. We're well over double our usage. So we're looking pretty good. We're looking pretty good, all things considered. This is going to generate some extra plates. It's a very dumb, simple process. It's just going to keep us flowing a little bit better. And actually, take back what I said. No more of that. Adding on more stuff. Once you get one thing done, is a cakewalk. It's very simple. Now, later on, we're going to look into is also these planners and modules. Think of them, like I said, like blueprints. They work out pretty similarly. And once we build one system we really like, and we're like, we need this all the time, do this all the time, works out very, very neat. Very, very neat. How many mines do we have? We have 6 already. Okay, I'm going to kill this process. There we go. I do want mines still, but I also want labs to come online. So where are we at with labs? Let's just zoom in real good. We're already over half chips. That didn't take very long at all. Games like this are great because there's plenty to do, right? Every single item we're producing means that we have a little more capacity to make changes or alter anything we want. Now, the thing that I want to mention again is this is still very early version. We're 0.3.4. But still, in my mind, I think I see a lot of potential here. There's a ton of stuff that the developer wants to add, and it's these kinds of games I'm more than happy to share off. More than willing to give a little bit of a showcase, talk them through, what does the end goal look like, where are we at with this, right? That's kind of my thought process. And these are the kinds of projects that really get me going, get me excited. A AAA title, yeah, honestly, as I've been a gamer for so long, they're fun and they're interesting, but these are the kinds of games that really draw me in. It's the same reason why I play a lot of older titles. Uprising, Join or Die. Deadlock, Deadlock 2. Gosh, what's other old stuff? Z, if anyone's ever heard of that game. Z, right? I'm just going to say that and leave it there. Let's see. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff, and I really appreciate the charm that comes out of it. So anyway, how far are we to that lab? We're getting pretty close. We're getting very close. And all we need is an iron plate to make laboratory pieces. So let's go ahead and get that going. Let's see here. I need an assembler. Let's check it right there. The lab is going to be right here, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. Let's set the recipe. We need you to create RTs, which stand for research tokens. Each tech of research token requires a different amount of input and a different amount of just stuff. So this is tech 1, it's just iron plates, no problem. For this video specifically, I think what we'll do is we're going to set up the lab. We're going to research our very first thing, which is Crossings Mark 1. We're going to redo our setup because we have plenty of arms, plenty of belts. We're going to add crossings into our assembly process. We're going to rebuild this, and I think that's going to be a good episode 1. To be absolutely honest, I still want to give just a nice overview of this game. We're not going to... This isn't pro tips, how to play. This is just, if this is your first time, this is how this works. And that's more than enough for me, I think. So, the lab is being produced. We can see by the processing bar down here. The cooldown bar, I think it's called. Cooldown? Cooldown, yep. When that's completed, the lab will be produced, it'll be chucked into a provider, and then we'll be able to start doing research. I'm excited. Crossings are really the first real step into getting clean processing. Clean processing, clean smelting. It's what's really gonna... Oh, there's the lab. It's what's really going to allow us to start building a belt system. So the research tokens are taken from there and thrown in. If we zoom in, we can see how many research tokens are available. And as the cooldown is happening, actually, it seems like the cooldown might be resetting every single time one gets added, which is fun. There'll come a point where it'll just research all of it. There we go. There's 5 research tokens. No problem. So it's a 1-to-1 from what it seems like so far. So we need 100 of these bad boys. And just like I've said before, if you ever feel a part of the game is slow, or it's not moving as quickly as you like, really good chance of improvement with that. You just got to get it going on. So I'm going to set up another lab to make... Oh, no. Nope. I misclicked once and my brain ruined everything. Now, I need you out of there, mate. Thank you. We're going to set up another thing just to make research tokens, see if we can speed this along kind of nicely. Because I copied it, it already had the recipe, so right there. So again, that makes it really simple from a user interface perspective. I don't have to copy it and then go find another recipe or the same recipe or whatever. It's just there. So this is going to load up research tokens pretty hard. And that's good with that. This was a very rudimentary process we had going on. Yeah, and I'd like a couple of labs. So, since I'm treating this as an overview video, we're just going to let the game run for a little bit. We'll get our first research done. And, yeah, so I'll be just right back. Alright, our first tech is researched. And now let's pick something new. We just finished Crossings, Mark 1. 2-belt mixing is also fairly important, but I think we're going to go to... nope, yep, that makes the most sense. There's not a lot of Tech 1 stuff available before we're already pushed into Tech 2, which is fine. Now, this is a new item we just unlocked. It is called the Crossing Mark 1. We don't have any, so we need to make some. The recipe for these are going to be 8-belt Mark 1 to make 1 crossing. Now, that all being said, this would be a perfect time to talk about modules. We've already made this process before, taking plates and gears and turning them into belts. Well, now we could take that same process and rebuild it all, or we can modularize it. So we're going to go over to the planner. And in here, I've already set up something, but we're actually just going to nuke this and start from scratch, just so you can see exactly what we're on about. I'm going to go ahead and remove this blueprint. Here, we're going to go through and we're going to design a module. We're going to be in each of these categories, the recipe and the structure. And here, there's no limit. We're just designing a module, so we could have 150 smelters if we wanted, or whatever we want, really. But we need to start off with these two things. First is a source. How do units get into the system? They get in via a source. Then they leave via a sink. This blue rectangle now that's created shows how much area is going to be consumed. In the upper left, we have blueprint 1 of 1, the size, the ticks, the runout ticks, the module ticks. This shows how time is being progressed and how long recipes and stuff take. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a module that is just belt construction. That's it. So if I want a dozen of them, we can copy paste them. I don't have to keep making them. So we're going to do this the exact same way that we would have done it if this was in real life or what have you. I need something to pull iron out of this. And we're going to get a line. Again, there's no limit to this. Right now we're in module. None of this, there's no limitation. So we're going to need an assembler. And I kind of want to make this a little tight if we can. So we're not wasting a ton of space here. Let's go ahead and set our recipes. 1 for gear and 1 for belt. There we go. And let's get our arms going on. Oh, back to structures. And like I said, I kind of want to make this a little tight if we can. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Let's add our sink. And that's about as tight, I think, as we can get it. It's a 7x5. I'm pretty happy with it. So what this is going to do is we're going to input iron. And at the end of it, we're going to get our belts. That's how this is supposed to work. So I'm very happy with this setup, very simplistic, but I do want to demonstrate modules because I think this is kind of a pretty solid part of the game. I'm going to go ahead and save this. It's most likely going to error, but I'm going to try anyway. So I'll click Modularize Blueprint. I'm just going to give it a name, 123. Did not create module. Module name is already in use. Please choose another one. Oh, it must be my earlier one. Okay. That must be still around. So 3, 2, 1. Did not create. Module produce nothing. Increase the module ticks or fix its layout. Now, the modular ticks is how much time it's allotted for a process to be completed. Let's see here. Restart blueprint. Let's restart blueprint. That's fine. Let's see here. There's a modular tick button. Modularized blueprint, edit module, restart, set modularized ticks. There we go. That means in 1,000 ticks, not enough time has elapsed for the process to complete. As this is running, we can see I don't have a belt yet. Nothing hit the sink. So if we just watch this, this might give us a really good idea of how many ticks we need to get the job done. And we're at 2,000 right there, so 2,000 wouldn't be enough either. Oh, it looks like it reset because it got a new item. Which is fine. I'm noticing that's, you know, again, this game's still early in development. That's fine. There we go. And whenever it outputs, we'll see the tick number, and we'll use that. 3,500 seems to be the right number. 3500. And let's save it to belt make. Belt make added. Cool. So in here, we have belt make. Very good. So now let's head back to the planet. And I'm going to paste belt make somewhere. This has all the items that it is. And now that we're placing the module IRL, I need these materials. These can be rotated as well if we wanted to make this a little fanciful. But right now, this works pretty well for my needs. So this is our belt maker. I'm going to go ahead and place that. And now it's a black box. It's completely obscured from where I'm at or what's going on. To take this one step further, I would just do this to import that, and this to output that, and I'm just going to put it right to a chest for now. Oh wow, our research is really dialed in. I like that very, very much. Let's just go ahead and output this to a chest. It's exactly what you think it does. Now, we could change how many things are coming in, how things are coming out, but this is all very set up. Automagic almost. If we like how it looks, it looks. We can paste another one if we want. We can just keep going over and over again. So finding something that we like is very simple to copy-paste. Now, the other thing that's really, really cool is I believe you can also use modules to make other modules. So that might be a cool thing as well. That's not something I'm going to go super duper into right now, but this gives you a good idea of how modules operate. Now that we have the belts coming to here, we can also set up our assembler to look like this, and we're going to say this is going to make us our crossings, and then we're going to output that into a provider. Oh, I'm still on recipes. So something like that works pretty nicely too. This shows the overall progress. The cooldown, again, is the word for that. So that's still working right there. No problem. No problem. So that's a really small example of how modules work. And as long as you're watching and paying attention with the tick as it's going through the process, making sure you're setting the right module timer ticks. There we go. I think I said that right. Things are looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and pause again right here. I'm going to wait till we have a few of these built up crossings. And once we do, oh, actually, I almost forgot about something. We're going to do like that. Just get the items out of the chest into there. And then I'll remove this. Cool, no one's waiting. All right, cool. We're going to wait for a few crossings here. Again, if anything ever seems slow, ramp up production. But I think once we get a couple of crossings, things are going to look really, really sweet. And we're going to redo our industry. And then I think we'll call that an episode. But yeah, let's pause here, and I'll catch you in a second. Okay. We've let everything sit for a few minutes. We have 6 crossings, which is enough for us to get started. Out of curiosity, how many labs do we have? 15. Good lord. We don't need that much laboratory. Let's just tidy all this up. Like I said, crossings are going to be the very first, like, big ticket item. So I'm pretty happy about that. And I can just get nerfed. Thank you. And nuke. For this episode and this review, we're not going to get into space or any of the super in-depth things, but I think we're going to cover a lot of the core componentry for this game, which I'm happy about. Like I said, still looking forward to see what comes of it. Happy to do testing with it and all that. So let's see what a next stage smelting system would be like, right? Is this still making mines? How many mines do we have? 71. Good lord. That goes away. Actually, to be completely honest, most of this is going to get nuked. We're going to finish up this one lab. There we go, this one research. We've gotten all the level 1 stuff complete. Everything requires RT2, which is resource tokens number 2, and a combination of T1s, resource token 1. So we still need our old research setup for all intents and purposes. But for right now, like I said, I want to redo what we consider a smelting system. So this can all get nuked. Yep, thank you. Anything we delete is surrendered right back to our inventory. So there's no loss. Nothing is lost in any regard. Actually, how close are you to finishing up another one? You're pretty close. You're pretty close. We're going to go ahead and get all this cleaned up, though. So I'm just going to shift-click, and then let go of shift, and click to select, and then nuke. The whole thing gets gutted, for sure. Now, like I said, let's talk about what a new setup would be. I want a line of mines, a line of... Oh, we still have plenty of coal. Awesome. So here's how this is going to look. We want the whole thing to be covered in as much green as possible. So this shows maximum efficiency with our mines. If we do this, yeah, it'll still harvest iron, but pretty poorly. So let's do something like this, and we're going to belt our iron ore. We're just going to keep going a little bit. Let's get our smelting going on. Our furnace burners. I could use way more furnace burners, but we'll get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And on this other side, we're going to do something like this. This is going to be our output. And without these crossings, this wouldn't really be possible, but it is now. And in the other style, how do I want to do this? How do we do this? Actually, I have a different idea how I want this to be set up. Not too terribly different, but I do want it to be a little different. We're going to actually add the crossings like this. 4, 5. And we're going to output like this. And this is going to bleed over to this line. So what we're doing with these crossings is we're just passing through. No problem. Now for this is where coal is going to come into play. And how far do we need to go? Not super duper far. Something like that looks pretty good. Let's nuke that. We have plenty of belts. This is why I emphasized that bootstrap base earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seems like a decent start. We have plenty of arms. I feel a point of frustration could be if you don't plan like we have, like getting that simple base set up with all the materials. This could be incredibly frustrating if you're out of parts or you're just trying to complete something. So we'll just do this. Now we have 5 burners here, all kicking out, and it's going to push out iron plates here. And now we're going to use this as sort of a bus system for the rest of the everything. So I'm going to build this out like this, so this keeps going. Or we could remove this. How many crossings do I have? I have 2 crossings. I would kind of like that to just keep going as is. So let's wait and watch. Where's that coal at? Coal's coming down. What should happen is... Oh, I forgot to get coal arms into the system. There we go. Now we're golden. So, iron ore on the right, coal on the left. It gets fed in. It produces one plate. One plate gets kicked out. And it should be on this line instead. Ah, amazing. Amazing. Okay. Let's do a little bit more manufactory, and let's call this here. So, what do you need? What do burner, 15 iron plates. That's pretty simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double up like this. 3. And burners, boop, boop. And let's do a provider. Nope, I'm still in recipe mode. I gotta remember that. If you're trying to place something and you don't see the object in your hand or in the mouse, it means you're probably in recipe mode. It's called items. I call it recipes. So let's not get confused about that. But that's going to take plates from this bus line and start feeding it into there. So now we're taking our system and we're like kicking it up a notch. We're now going to add more of this. And we're going to build more base materials so we can continue to expand our base. These assemblers are also a much needed thing. You require gears. Is that it? Just gears? Just gears. Neat. So what we're going to do with this is because you need so many gears, we're going to gear, we're going to assembler, we're going to gear, we're going to do something like this. I should have done the recipes first. Oh, bad me. Cool. We only had three burners before, and we're doing much, much better with that now. I'm still in recipe mode. Oh, there we go. All of these are lit, which means they're working. That's good. I don't think I need more coal. Maybe I do. But this is where we'll see a little bit of adjusting. Yeah, it's going to take a while for all of it to get all the way down to the bottom, and that's fine. Completely fine. Good stuff. So this is how, like, the next level of smelting would be. We're building it in sort of a bus format. So all the resources come in are on one line, all the resources that come out are on one line, and it makes for a much more visually, aesthetically pleasing base, right? So for our very first episode, why don't we call this here? I think we've covered a lot of the game mechanics, some good recommendations, build a small bootstrap base, start getting materials into the provider, make sure things are moving, and from here we can move on to higher tech levels and whatever else is necessary. So again, just a quick look. Thank you all for joining me. My name is JohnMegacycle. An episode of Combine and Conquer is in the books, and I hope to catch you next time. Hey there, guys, gals, fans, and pals. Thanks for checking out my video. I also want to take a moment to thank all my supporters and donators, and if you'd like to join up with me and game with my crew, all the information to get connected is in the description below. Thanks again, and I hope to catch you next time.